魚の演技力見せてあげるわ。
それは無理だ。
Well, sorry to say, because of Disney, everyone's kind of burnt out on remakes of the classics. Can't wait until we get Cruella's origin story. We opened this week with the return of that pointless buffer that didn't even really recap anything new before we got into the episode proper in Manatsu and Sango's class. And yes, as you can tell by everyone's mile apart eyes, this is a Mitsuru Aoyama episode. I'll complain about it more later, but for now, apparently their school was going to serve as the shooting location for a film. Thus, the Tropical Club decided to participate in it as an activity. Well, sorry to say, but y'all will have to settle for a short movie until the higher-ups can sort things out. Actually, Manatsu is fine with them just playing as background extras. Though, even that was too much for Minori and Asuka, who basically both said that they were too shy to participate. Yet, interestingly enough, the conformist wallflower Sango sided with Manatsu, even expressing her interest in seeing some of the behind the scenes of filmmaking. More on this later. For now though, they had to deal with someone who I guess was supposed to look suspicious. Up until about a year ago, this might have been considered stereotypically suspicious, but now? This is just casual wear. Unintentional social commentary aside, Sango managed to realize that the girl was a young actress named Yuna. She was playing a major role in the film, but didn't feel suited for it as she had stuck to her natural typecast as the shy, reclusive girl, ironically kinda matching with Minami Takahashi's usual roles. And now she was supposed to play as the antagonist to the main character of the film as an alpha bitch rich girl. Hey, come on, give it a shot. Who knows, maybe you'll have a bisexual harem by the end. I also like this bit of her assuming that Asuka would be more suited for the role, not knowing at all what the redhead was actually like. But yeah, as hard as she tried, she just couldn't get into character. Fortunately, Sango's mother, Miyuki, managed to interject not just because of this plot-relevant panda outfit. To be fair, it does look better than your kigurumi. But also because, coincidence of coincidences, she had been commissioned to serve as Yuna's makeup artist. This got some reactions out of our protagonists, especially Laura, though this face is nothing compared to what's coming up. And while I would normally say that they're kind of forcing all this makeup stuff in, especially when Manatsu started spouting off about it like it was a freaking gospel again, for a film production, makeup is very important in making someone look like they were made for the part. So I gotta give credit here, as for once, they actually managed to work this into the story organically. That said, the makeup would have to come later, as Yuna still needed to get into character, which the Tropical Club tried to help her with. This led into a bit of a rushed training montage, as our heroines took her through some drills that I think were supposed to be comedic, but either they didn't last long enough, or Aoyama's terrible animation didn't convey enough visual emotion. The most we got was when Yuna tried practicing her Ojo laugh, and what the?
Fletcher! Holy hell!
Well, my friends, I think we've finally done it. We found the greatest, worst Aoyama face ever. I mean, is this supposed to be on a Heigao or something else entirely? I don't know, but you know, I think this deserves to be hung in a museum or something, because just look at this. Is it great? So, after that, Yuna understandably needed to take a break. During this, Manatsu came up with the rather absurd idea of just having her become a Precure and perhaps pull a personality change like Minori. Yeah, Laura rightfully pointed out that Manatsu was treating the concept of the Precure like a joke. Then again, considering who wrote this episode, maybe that was kind of the idea. This week's writer was Hiroyuki Yoshino, who's kind of a big name in the industry. Like, let me just read a few of the shows that he's done the series con for. Okay, we've got Axel World, Macross Frontier, Magi, My Hime, My Otome, World Trigger, Sound of the Sky, Black Butler, Book of Circus. Oh, and he also assisted in the writing for some show about a guy with a magic eye. I don't think you've ever heard of it. But yeah, this guy has quite the resume with quite the variety of genres. And while not all of them are home runs, there's no denying that this guy just has a certain touch that makes his shows at least fun, even when they're certifiable trash. All I'll say is that if he ends up throwing in some random Gren Lagann references like he did for the last magical girl anime he wrote for, then I'll be all for it. Miyuki later came to pick up the panda kigurumi, which, by the way, was supposed to be used for some Cinderella-themed makeup. I guess the idea was that even a panda could look like Cinderella in the makeup, even though the most commonly accepted versions of the original tale from Europe did not involve pandas as they weren't native to those countries and—
The answer is don't think about it.
Confusing background information aside, Sango volunteered to put on the costume. Dorella, and no, I'm not going with Cindy, I think Dorella sounds a lot better, coincidentally was also supposed to have an alpha bitch Ojo personality like Yuna's role, and yet, in spite of sharing a similar base personality with her, Sango managed to get right into character. Well, to be fair, we know she can pull off a great Stallone impersonation. But yeah, Miyuki had also noticed this, and through some testimonies from her friends, they learned how all of the tropical clubs started to change thanks to a little push from Manatsu. Not a bad scene, as they did at least acknowledge Manatsu's influence on this team, though while I know they couldn't reveal it to these two, I think more than a little credit should also go to Laura, just saying. Also, I'm saying it's just not bad, as it wasn't exactly delivered the most organically with the characters expositing while walking in and off screen. Anyway, Sango eventually had to call it a day after suffering from heat exhaustion. Fortunately, this led into the best scene of the episode, as Sango revealed that the story of Cinderella had also been an influence on her. From her interpretation of the tale, the greatest gift the fairy godmother had given Cinderella was actually the courage to pursue her dreams. Yeah, it's a bit of a cheesy message, but not an unfounded one, as it even inspired Yuna to try her hand at the panda. Yeah, again, I don't really get the point of a panda mascot, not unless you're trying to sell cheese.
Just you know why I am.
Anyway, thanks to Sango's words, Yuna found the courage to take the first step and develop a sort of prototype of her eventual movie role. I imagine wearing the mask helped her get more into character, just like the makeup would later. On that note, the day of the shooting came, and yeah, in spite of Aoyama's bad animation, Miyuki's makeup actually did the job and made Yuna look significantly different and perfect for her role. Of course, all of this would be interrupted by Numeri, who just kind of appeared while the triumphant music was playing in the background. Seriously, some of the direction in this episode is really off. Anyway, she created a Yaneda out of one of the stage lights. Oh, so this is what the production on the Tyson films look like. The Precure transformed, and as I pointed out, Manatsu changed up the roll call a little bit.
Everyone needs an understudy.
Well, you got me there.
And it was time for the fight of the week, and this is a Mitsuru Aoyama episode. Never expect a good-looking fight unless it has a movie budget behind it. Yeah, I know, it's kind of ironic for this episode. That said, while visually nothing at all impressive, it was thematically well done, as Sango truly lived up to her role as the tank of her team by buying everyone time while they got mirrors thanks to a strategy from Minori. Since the monster used light attacks, they were able to use them to reflect it back and give an opening to let Laura and Sango finish it off. With that, the filming went off without any further troubles, and even the Precure managed to make cameos against the wishes of some of them. And the episode ended on an ominous note, with Butler claiming that the witch had come up with a new monster type called the Zenzen Yaneda. Again, I'm not completely convinced she's doing anything when this guy is doing all the talking. This was a pretty great outing for Sango, though otherwise a pretty okay episode on its own. I don't know, this one just kind of lacked the energy and quick pace of previous episodes, not helped by Aoyama's constantly degrading animation. Though that's not to take away from Sango's pretty great contributions here, as she even managed to parallel with the struggling actress quite well, and as a result, got some pretty good development out of it. That, and they actually managed to find some thematic importance to the application of makeup in this one, so that's pretty good too. I'll admit, I might have given this episode too high of expectations when I heard Hiroyuki Yoshino was writing for this franchise. Though truth be told, while he's still clearly green to Precure, he did write a bad first script. He managed to give some much needed development to Sango, showing how she is taking steps from not being the conformist that she was at the beginning of the series. The fact that she cited Cinderella as an influence was pretty brilliant, as just like her, it wasn't so much the beauty products like a dress or the makeup that was encouraging her, but rather what they symbolized, the courage to take the first steps towards her new self. Having all of this being paralleled with an actress who constantly has to make new personas and is required to use makeup was a pretty brilliant application of themes and morals. All that said, Yoshino tends to work better with shows that have higher age ratings. His humor tends to be more absurdist, which he did kind of work in here, but was also clearly being restricted from taking it to his usual limits. Thus, this kind of lacked the intentional laughs of previous episodes. Yes, there were some unintentional laughs because of Aoyama's abhorrent animation. Seriously, this shouldn't have made it onto television for so many reasons. But yeah, visually, this is probably the worst episode so far, not helped by some confusing direction, like whatever they were trying to do with that training montage, or having Numeri appear while happy music was playing, kind of defeating the idea of having a threatening villain. I don't know if there were some issues behind the scenes, but the production for this episode really needed some tightening up. Still, with some good development for Sango and some great meshing of themes and morals, I can't really say this was a bad episode, just not one I'm going to be watching for the visuals anytime soon. If you haven't seen it yet, I made another sort of spur-of-the-moment review with looking for magical Doremi. That's not a statement, that's the actual title of the film. It is shorter and simpler than some of my usual movie reviews, mostly to avoid copyright issues, but do check it out as well as the film itself, as even if you're unfamiliar with the Oshama's Doremi franchise, it is still a fantastic look at pretty much any anime fandom. Next up on the docket is of course part 2 of my Gold Princess review, which should be out soon. Look forward to it, and until then though, farewell for now my friends, and if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go to the theaters in my living room. Yeah, honestly, even if we weren't in the middle of a pandemic, I still wouldn't go. But now, just casual wear.